Most people believe that manifestation works like sending a message out into the universe and waiting for it to come back. They think if they visualize someone texting them, that person somehow receives a signal, like a notification on their mind, and then decides to act on it. It feels almost like control, like you are trying to influence someone else from a distance. And when it doesn't work instantly, people assume either they did it wrong or the other person is too strong to be influenced. But this entire understanding is flawed. You are not sending thoughts like messages through space, hoping someone picks them up. You are not forcing anyone, and you are definitely not separate from the person you are trying to manifest. The biggest mistake people make is thinking thought transmission is about changing someone else, when in reality, it is always about changing yourself first. The shift never begins out there. It begins within you, and only then does it reflect outside. If you miss this one point, you will keep trying, visualizing, affirming, and still feel like nothing is moving. Now, let's actually understand what thought transmission really is. Because once you get this, your entire way of manifesting relationships, attention, love, and even respect will completely change. Thought transmission is not about sending something outward. It is about what gets activated within you when you think of someone in a certain way. Every thought you hold about another person is not just about them. It is also a state that you are entering. And that state becomes your reality. This is where most people get confused because they think imagination is just a mental activity. But imagination is not passive. It is creative. It is causative. It is the place where your inner world is formed and your outer world has no option but to follow it. When you imagine someone loving you, missing you, texting you, choosing you, something very important happens. Before that thought can even relate to them, it must first exist inside you. You have to feel it. You have to experience it, even if it is just for a moment. And in that moment, you are no longer someone who is unloved or ignored. You become the version of yourself who is already loved and chosen. That is the real transmission. Not to them, but to your own subconscious mind. Your subconscious does not care about who you are thinking of. It only accepts the state you are feeling. So if you imagine someone apologizing to you, your subconscious does not process it as they are apologizing. It processes it as I am someone who is respected, valued, and treated right. And once that identity starts forming inside you, your external world begins reorganizing itself to match that identity. This is why Neville Goddard said, "You cannot give what you do not have." If you are imagining love for someone, you are not giving them love. You are first experiencing love within yourself. If you are imagining forgiveness, you are first becoming forgiveness. And whatever you become internally starts expressing itself externally through people, through circumstances, through unexpected ways. Now, here's where thought transmission becomes powerful in relationships. When you constantly think of someone in a certain way, you are not changing them directly. You are changing your concept of them. And because your reality is shaped by your perception, the version of that person you experience starts changing. If you keep thinking that someone is distant, confused, or not interested, you are entering the state of being rejected or uncertain. And from that state, everything you notice, everything you interpret, everything you experience will confirm that belief. Even their neutral actions will feel like rejection to you. But the moment you start imagining them as someone who values you, who enjoys talking to you, who feels connected to you, you step into a completely different state. And from that state, your interactions begin to change. Your energy changes, your reactions change, and eventually their behavior appears to change as well. This is why people say it feels like the other person can feel your thoughts. It is not because you are sending signals to control them. It is because you are no longer the same version of yourself interacting with them. Your entire presence shifts, and that shift creates a different response. Think about it in a simple way. When you feel confident, loved, and secure, you behave differently. You speak differently. You interpret things differently. You don't overthink every small action. And because of that, the other person also responds differently to you. Not because they were forced, but because the dynamic itself has changed. Thought transmission is simply the process of you embodying a state so deeply that it naturally reflects in your outer world, including the people in it. Now let's go a little deeper, because this is where most people either get it or completely miss it. You are always transmitting something, whether you are aware of it or not. Your dominant thoughts, your assumptions, your inner conversations are constantly shaping your state. And that state is what people respond to. Not your words, not your forced actions, but your underlying state. If deep down you feel unworthy, even if you act confident, there will always be a mismatch. And that mismatch creates inconsistency in your results. But when your inner state becomes aligned, when you genuinely feel chosen, valued, and loved, there is no effort needed. It becomes natural. And that naturalness is what makes it powerful. This is why trying too hard often pushes things away. Because trying comes from lack. It comes from the feeling that you don't have it yet. And that feeling is what gets transmitted, not your words or affirmations. On the other hand, when you relax into the feeling of already having it, when you allow yourself to experience it internally, that is when the shift happens. And this is also why detachment is talked about so much. Not because you have to stop caring, but because you have to stop forcing. When you are secure in your inner state, you don't need constant validation from the outside. And that is when things start flowing naturally. Now, let's connect this back to relationships, because that is where most of you want to apply this. If you want someone to text you, instead of constantly checking your phone and feeling anxious, you need to enter the state of someone who is already receiving that attention. You need to feel what it would feel like if that person was already consistent, already interested, already present in your life. And you allow yourself to experience that feeling without needing immediate proof. When you do this consistently, your subconscious starts accepting it as normal. And once something feels normal internally, it has to appear externally. Maybe through that person, maybe through someone else, but it will appear. And this is an important point. Thought transmission does not mean controlling a specific person like a puppet. It means aligning yourself with the experience you desire. And that experience will find a way to come into your life. But if you are very clear and consistent in your assumption about a specific person, if you truly see them as someone who loves you, respects you, chooses you, without constantly doubting it, then your experience of them can change as well. Because again, you are not changing them directly. You are changing your reality in which they exist. So the next time you sit to visualize or affirm, don't think of it as sending thoughts to someone else. Think of it as entering a state within yourself. Ask yourself, what version of me is experiencing this reality? And then allow yourself to feel that version. Because at the end of the day, manifestation is not about getting something. It is about becoming someone. And once you become that version internally, your outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Your thoughts are not traveling across space trying to reach someone. They are shaping you. And when you change, your world changes. That is the real meaning of thought transmission. And once you truly understand this, you stop chasing, you stop forcing, and you start embodying. And that is when everything begins to move effortlessly. I hope this helped you. Subscribe, and I'll be back soon with another golden nugget. Happy manifesting.